Big exciting news to start your afternoons as Wall Street pushes for stimulus and believes it's around the corner. While the bond market ended flat for the day, the Dow Jones was up significantly. You know what that often means. An incumbent who has a stock market up usually gets reelected. But they think that stimulus is just around the corner. Literally every interview that Wall Street analysts had on broadcast news today talked about stimulus. It's coming right away, and it's going to be very robust. This is incredible, great news. It's front page news, it's not the back page, and they're talking big stimulus, a lot of stimulus to you, and coming right away. Oh, this is an incredible day to start on Monday afternoon, and this is LALATE. Hey, good afternoon to everybody. This is Afternoons LLA with just incredible great news across the board as Wall Street believes your stimulus is coming and believes it's coming right away and thinks it's going to be very big. They talked about it in literally almost every single interview on broadcast business news today. As the stock market rallied up, the bond market stayed flat, and world markets looked at lockdowns in Europe. Wow, incredible, great news. I'm so glad you joined me. It's a Monday afternoon. If you've not subscribed, go to the first channel, subscribe, because we're going to have a lot of big developments today, a lot of twists and turns, and tomorrow I'll be changing up the programming schedule. Tomorrow's the final episode of 28, and I'll bring in new shows and to do programming blocks, so don't miss the lineup, and make sure you hit the alert on the Fellas channel so you don't miss a video at any time. Also, like this video, it's really helping. We were trending number 1 and number 2 worldwide today, so let's keep it going. In this video, I'll be going over why Wall Street is so encouraged and excited and optimistic for stimulus to be coming right away. It's not just watered down stimulus. They're expecting big, bold stimulus. How much, when, what would be the numbers? I'm going to be going over the exciting, great news for you. Then I'll be going over what the bond market's saying. The bond market is tied to how big the stimulus is because they have to pay for the stimulus. Really incredible, interesting news there. Then I'll be going over the Fed. The Fed, I saw your comments on early mornings LLA. I asked you how much you're spending for milk, how much you're spending for eggs. If you didn't see that video, drop in the comments below. I'm going to get to that in a second. Fed is being urged to step in and stop the price escalation. And this is amid concerns just this Monday afternoon that there may be a rise and rush on staples as concerns of lockdown go on. You know, remember those Costco images from when the pandemic first hit? They're worried that's going to happen right around the next few days. Finally, the amounts and a lot of great other news. I'll be going over some of your incredible comments, and I'll have a personal message at the end. All right, it's a great day. I'm so glad you joined me. This is the breaking news. The breaking news is that Wall Street believes stimulus is coming and believes it's not just watered down stimulus, believe it's big, bold stimulus. We're talking about second stimulus. We're talking about for you, whether you're on SSDI, SSI, Social Security or railroad benefits, or you're an individual, a single mom, a senior, a railroad beneficiary, or a business owner. A lot of different stimulus items, a lot of big stimulus packages. These could be grants, stimulus checks, hazard pay, FPUC, big, bold items like rent eviction protection, all those and more. They're very excited about it. If you're really short, you're really going to be betting on everything that's going to go wrong at this point, says Jim Cramer, CNBC, this morning. But he says that the really last week may have been oversold, and it's entirely possible that we're going to end positive. Adam Crisafulli says the world is still largely in a holding pattern, but we're going to be seeing in a few days where talks resume on stimulus. He says the world would likely be a lot cleaner in a few days thanks to election being over and stimulus talks resuming in Washington. Again, the world will be a lot clearer in a few days with stimulus talks resuming. That's what he said. Then, Mark Wilson, chief economist at Morgan Stanley today, said the world of correction is over in our views, and we believe we're getting going. As we get close to the election, just a few days away, a risk of fear of the lockdowns as the virus runs its course are still on place. Now, I mean, there are concerns among other things. AMC, the big movie theater, seeks to sell $150 million to starve off starve off bankruptcy concerns. In England, Boris Johnson had to defend his announcement of lockdowns today. I make absolutely no apology for doing my level best. Our level best at the government is to avoid being back on a national lockdown, and we have to do it. His lockdown is from November 5th to December 2nd. And then we have some retail numbers that were out minutes ago that showed that during the first, after the first stimulus check came out, after the first stimulus package came out, we did see a rise in retail sales, but they expect those to plummet again amidst COVID-19 cases. The 7-day average on COVID-19 cases is now 81,000, 18% rise in a week. And with that, comes the push to get your stimulus checks. All right, let's go over your stimulus checks. Let's go over the stimulus amount. How much, when, where, and all that beautiful stuff. First, stimulus checks. And the period we're going to be talking about is spring to now, ostensibly May to the present. And understand, we're talking about it now. That's it, the stimulus package we've done now. We would call it second stimulus. This is from May to the present. How much? First, let's go over how many checks. Problem solvers said 2 checks. White House said they would do multiple checks. Steve Mnuchin said he would do multiple checks. Perhaps not in the same bill, but 1 check, 1 bill, and another check, another bill. So that's incredible, great news. Temple Doom, no, 1 check. All right, let's go over the amounts now. We know the amounts. First, Temple Doom has the lowest amounts, $500 for children. That's not sufficient. Adult beneficiary, adult dependents. These are people on SSDI, SSI, and Social Security and railroad benefits who are dependent on someone else's return. She only wants to give you $1,000. That's not sufficient. How about normal adults, $1,200? Okay. Well, let's move over to the Republicans. What are the Republicans proposing? Well, there was an initial proposal a few weeks ago, about a month ago, in which Steve Mnuchin said, I'll give you more than the Temple Doom. This is good then. It was getting moving. We like movement. He said $1,200 for adults. Okay, that's the same as her. But I'll give you $1,000 for children. Ooh, doubled her number. Okay. And then he said for adult dependents, I'll give $1,200. I'll give $1,200 for every adult. That was incredibly good. I mean, she had been as low as $500 for adult dependents. Remember the first stimulus package, no one gave anything to adult dependents. So this was incredible, great news, but that got better shortly thereafter. Yes. Then Mark Meadows, chief of staff to Donald Trump, said, you know what? The president has countered and has raised his stimulus check amount. The amount of the check had been raised. Not the number of checks or the eligibility, but the amount of the check. You look at the check, how much is on the check. The check amount had been raised by the White House. So how much? We were never told the amount. It's presumed it's around $2,000, but it was more generous and larger than even what Steve Mnuchin had offered before, which remember was $1,200 for all adults and $1,000 for children. Really good news. But then the problem solver said, you know what, we need 2 stimulus checks. Steve Mnuchin said, I would do multiple stimulus checks. But then came us, the viewers of this channel, the Purple Power, said, you know what, that's not going to be enough. That's not going to cover us from May to now. We want what Senator Harris wrote, and Bernie Sanders and Ed Markey, all Democrats, all in the Senate, one progressive, one moderate, and they said, you know what, no, $1,200 doesn't cut it for 1 month. We need $2,000, and we can't just do it for 1 month. We need it for at least 6 months or until the pandemic improves or unemployment rates go down. What's important to understand about that discussion, because I've gotten some really good comments, I love your comments, is that they said $1,200 is not enough. That is really sort of the core of the discussion that I think is so important. It was broadcast interviews, it was MSNBC, it was CNN, Harris was saying over and over again, $1,200 is not sufficient. It's not a sufficient number. And you got to remember that when $1,200 sort of appeared on the face of the American landscape during the first stimulus package, the number was simply pulled from the sky. It was not grounded in any economics. And so Senator Harris just slammed that number, said that's not a sufficient number. You need more money. Hence, $2,000 is starting to get working, but at least every month for at least 6 months. Now, there has been some debate in the comments where people said, I don't see $12,000 happening, but people certainly understand that $1,200 is not enough, and that $2,000 is getting back on track, but it needs to be several months. hashtag MSC. And what's important to understand is that that's up to the present. Well, what about from now to March? More about that in a second. Stay with me. Then came FPUC. The concern about enhanced unemployment benefits was all over Wall Street today. They were talking about it every 10 seconds. And they see that there's a need to do enhanced unemployment benefits. If I have enough time in this recording, I'm going to get to not one, but two feature articles on CNBC today that detailed about 20 stories of young adults that said, I need my enhanced unemployment benefits. Where are they? It was a feature piece dealing with a lot of people and their own issues, and the reoccurring theme was FPUC. Temple Doom does a retroactive to September. It doesn't work for me. Steve Mnuchin does a retroactive to September. Doesn't work for me. Does it work for you? I don't think it works for you. Your FPUC expired in July. They went on vacation. Then they came back from vacation in August. Did they get it done? No. Then they went on vacation again. Then they came back for the postman and chased him around. Did they pass it again? Then no. So now they want to say, okay, we've been chasing around the postman, taking some vacations. We'll just do it to retroactive to September. And you can just eat August. I'm sorry, my bills didn't eat August. My bills are eating me. So I need to get paid for August. What is this, feast or famine? So millions of Americans on this channel are saying, no, you have to go retroactive back to late July. Now, how far into the future? We're stopping around late December, early January. That's not sufficient as well. Finally, the amount, $400 to $600, all really quite clear. Good numbers. Then we come to all the other things. And I don't detail a lot of them on this channel because there's so much in a given day. But what's important to understand is that there's other provisions out there, and they are really quite exciting. There is, there's the Lifeline grant. I'm going to go over that over the next video, the Hazard Pay video, right after this in 30 minutes. That's the $50,000 grant. Yes, stay with me for that one. Then there's the Fed Main Street lending, which is not part of the stimulus package, but is part of the Fed. That's $100,000. We don't talk about that on a daily basis, but I'll get that in a second. But then there is a talk also in the second stimulus package of the CDC grant, which is like a frontline workers hazard pay-ish type grant. The EIDL grant, the normal one, the EIDL loan, the PPP, student loan forgiveness, student debt forgiveness, student debt repayment moratorium, rent eviction moratorium, mortgage forbearance, and finally rent aid and food aid. Those are all part of the second stimulus package. All that Wall Street's really excited about. There's like, just get this done, folks. Just get it done. But that brings you up to now. So then what happens from now to March? And this is where Wall Street's a little jittery. Today, Wall Street went anywhere from negative 150 in the pre-market trading to up 343. I think it closed around 400, up 1.3%. Nasdaq was flat, down 10.60 or a 0.1 down. S&P was sort of flat, up 26 points or 1%. But the issue as we go forward is that there's a concern about lockdown stimulus. Lockdown stimulus is when you look at the number of COVID-19 cases growing, the 7-day average of 81,000 or 100,000 cases a day on Friday. They consider it could be 110 on Sunday. They consider it to be 110 today. They say, you know what? We need more stimulus to cover us from December to March. Why? Because the therapeutics and the vaccines would not come into mainstream America until at least January in the best case scenario. And so the current stimulus packages expire in December. They expire in December. Rent eviction expires in December. FPUC expires in December. PUA, UI, all these things are expiring in December, January. So it's like, okay, we need more stimulus. And they're looking at Boris Johnson's statements and saying, you know what, while there may be some momentum and resilience to propel the economy in the months ahead, additional fiscal support is critical to ensure that recovery does not stall. This is all really incredible. What's also really incredible is the push with the Federal Reserve. I told you I was going to touch on that. And that concern is the issue of price escalation. How much are you spending for eggs? Drop in the comments below. How much are you spending for a gallon of milk? A dozen eggs, a gallon of milk. How much are you spending for it? And say what state you're from. I asked that question on Early Mornings LA, and I'm looking over the answers, and they're just all over the place, but some of them are just through the roof. One person said a dozen eggs, $5. Another person said a gallon of milk, $6. And I'm talking about standard milk. I'm not talking about sirloin milk, that premium Cowalac milk. I'm talking about normal milk and normal eggs. I mean, eggs don't come from a cow. Yeah, that's from a chicken. But, how much you pay? Because that's the concern. Wall Street's been very loud and vocal that the Federal Reserve needs to step in and start doing something with monetary policy to ensure that prices come down as the stimulus package gets approved by Congress, the second stimulus package. Because ultimately what they're worried about is that you get the stimulus, but then it costs more money to live. So how, let's say you get a stimulus check in your hand and then suddenly it costs 15 to 20% more for groceries than it did a month ago. Okay, then you need to give us a 20% bigger stimulus. No, the way you fix it is you have the Federal Reserve step in and say, get this inflation down. Federal Reserve was embracing inflation, saying it was wonderful a few months ago. Now it doesn't want it because the concern is that inflation is being driven up with a stagnant economy, and that could cause a depression. And so there's a big push on the Fed to get this done. Next, the bond market. The bond market has been very excited. Today it ended flat. It started initially up, and the reason why it was up is because it believes stimulus is coming. Bond analysts spoke all day long that says basically, hey, it costs money to stimulus, and that money's caused by borrowing, by debt, and the borrowing helps the bank, and hence the bond numbers, the treasury numbers, which come from the Federal Reserve again, were initially up on hopes that stimulus was going to pass. Then it ended flat, but those hopes are still there. That's what's incredible, great news. What's interesting is that the situation is just very complicated. And what's important for you to understand is that going from now forward, you're going to need lockdown stimulus. You're going to need third stimulus or lockdown stimulus. I asked in the comments below, asked on Early Mornings LALATE, and drop in the comments to this video as well. Are you on lockdown yet? Have you been told you're heading on lockdown? And what city or county are you in? So as you know, cities or counties determine your lockdown, not the President of the United States. This is not Germany. This is not France, not England. Lockdowns are not done on a national level by the order of the President. They're done by your county or city health officials. But some of you are now saying that you have been announced you're going on lockdown. So tell me where the lockdowns are if you have a lockdown in your city. Jim Cramer on Friday said, you know what, everyone's a little sick of this election. I think I am too. I think you are too. You see how I sort of migrated away from, up 5 points in Pennsylvania. I'm just like, I've heard enough about Pennsylvania voting to last me a lifetime. I think we all want this election over, says Jim Cramer. So steal yourself a messy, confusing outcome and lead to messy, confusing action in the stock market. Therefore, will be around. I'm expecting massive confusion. This is going to be a confusing week. He's referring to this week. Actually, one of the most confusing weeks of my career, unless the results are a blowout, meaning it's a Democratic sweep of all three bodies of Congress and House. We may not know who wins for days, and that just may be messy. But he says, you don't want to be pigeonholing you to one event or another. If you have questions in today's video, drop them in the comments below, and I might feature them in tomorrow's recording. Great stuff. As always, go to the front of this channel, subscribe. If you've not subscribed, it's really important so you don't miss a video when a new video goes live on this channel. Also, like this video. It's really helping. We've been trending all day. Coming up next is hazard pay with big grants, including that $50,000 grant. Oh my goodness. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay Valley for more.